Okay, so what I now demonstrate, you get this question, okay? You don't know much about it. All you did, probably you didn't take this class or, whatever. How am I going to handle this? I'm a junior. I fresh out of law school. I went in and my boss is expecting me to know, and I said, okay, review these questions. Provide me a general answer. Obviously that he's not going to trust you, right? But he wants to get somebody to do it to get some, general answers to that. Obviously he's not expecting a law firm research it, kind of an answer to this. But before he goes and try to think about what to do, okay, he wants to see where you are. I mean, he partly knows it, et cetera, but he wants to test who you are, et cetera, and so on. So asks you to kind of prep him, give him a general answer. Okay? So foreign investment and foreign exchange control. So as I explained, there are wealth of materials out there that are valuable. Under the best search engine possible is Google. Okay, if it's about in the Korean language, Naver is very good. So, however, if the Korean language in English, okay, that's what you are concerned here. Okay, the wealth of information is already out there. Why is it good? Because I think that the people who puts up this kind of type of Korean laws, and they do it in the newsletter, they do it in a kind of, type of things that they publish, et cetera, setting out various aspects that foreign investors would be interested in. Korean legal system, how the regulation works, and so on. I often find that it's very well summarized, in a sense, to give you an overview. Okay? So that by reading those English articles and newsletters and other things available, you get the basic kind of sense of what's going on in here. What are the major issues? What I should be look for, what I should be careful about, and so on and so on. There's a wealth of information. And finding that information is relatively easy. That's the key point. Right? It's relatively easy. It's not that difficult. It's not something keyword that you need to type it. Okay, let's see how it goes. Are there any restrictions for foreign investment in the proposed business activities? Okay, so you want to know about the restriction of the foreign investment. Okay, meaning that there would be certain areas where the foreign investment would be limited. Commonsensically speaking, what area would that be? Yeah, national security. It's like a military and stuff. Like, you don't want the foreign things to control that. Media is another example, maybe. Okay, that you want to have the control, right? Because you don't want the media to be totally under a control of foreigners. Things of that sort, right? So, obviously, then where do we find it? I mean, right? You look through what kind of law should we research to find it out? What law, if you want to find out an answer to this? Yeah, foreign what law would that be? Yeah, you get the general sense, right? But you don't know because you never handled this question, etc., etc. So what then the second is, are there any incentives for foreign investment? And then they give you the law this guy already knows under the Foreign Investment Promotion Act. 외국 뭘까 이게? Foreign Investment Promotion Act in Korean. 외국인 투자 촉진법. Okay. So instead of saying foreigner investment, it would be a little bit, so 외국인, okay? So it's a Foreign Investment Promotion Act. Are there any tax incentives? Okay. Yeah, there should be tax incentives, but you don't know what, unless you research the law. And law is not just sticking out there the article, say, okay, this is it, readily to give you an answer. It takes time for you to read the law, and you don't really understand. So you want some kind of guidance where, the relevant people would kind of make the good summary out of it, okay, so that I can read and I can readily understand what this may be. All right? Then, another question is, are there any kind of approval, license, registration, permit required for the foreign investment? I want to create a joint venture and I want to, invest. But what kind of, approval do I need? What authorities are there? What's the name of the entity, government entities? And what about time? How long does it take time? If you need to file something, how long does it take? For instance, generally, how long will it take for the process of foreign investment notification? Via KOTRA, or like domestic foreign exchange bank. Obviously, this guy already knows the Korean law. He has some previous exposure. Otherwise, they would not be able to name KOTRA or, domestic foreign exchange bank. The incorporation and registration of the JV, inspection of capital contribution in cash or in kind. Inspection? Inspection? What does it mean, inspection? What is that word relevant to? We are going to create the company for 1 billion won, okay? And half of it, I will make the investment. The other half of it, what inspection is required if you are doing a capital investment? Under what situation is such an inspection required? Only if you are investing something else than cash. You understand what I'm talking about? Something else than cash or cash equivalent, right? Then you would need you kind of need inspection. Inspection to see the property that you are investing, okay, is really worth, okay, 500 million Korean won that you are saying, okay? Because now you are making a lot of different kind of capital contributions. Most common form would be cash, would be simplest, right? But you can also make what kind of 출자? In kind, which is called 현물, okay? You can make in-kind contributions. The in-kind contribution is always, it's a little bit time-consuming depending on a situation. Unless it's readily, the value, it can be really ascertainable, maybe in the public stock or something. Then you just sell the public stock and do it, to the cash. But it's a property if it's equipment, right? If it's a technology, right? If it's a technology that you are bringing in, right, instead of cash. If some kind of equipment, what is the value? How do we ascertain that value? You need some kind of system where the proper appraiser, if it's a land you are bringing in, okay? You can contribute land. What is the fair market value of that piece of property, right? So the inspection is needed. If that inspection is needed in case I contribute something other than cash, okay, what is the estimated time frame? How long does it take? Is it fairly quick? Does it require does it just require a valuation report? What kind of valuation report? Just a signed by some kind of appraisal firm would be enough? Or do you do something? Does the court, again, try to read the report and see whether they have fairly valued or something, right? So they're interested in those kind of things, right? Will it make any difference if foreign investor chooses an onshore or offshore entity to invest in the JV? Wow. What a weird question. What does that mean? Means, okay, we are creating a joint venture. I don't know whether you can see it or not. Here is the Korea party. Here is a foreign party. Let's create a company 50-50, okay? All right? This is Korea. These guys are both Korean companies, right? So what this guy is saying, should I make the direct investment like this, or should I create some kind of a company right here, let's say 100% owned, and then make my investment through that entity? So he's talking about some kind of entity out there which would be more favorable than directly investing. What kind of entity is he talking about? Some kind of tax haven, for example, where it is better. Usually, if it's better, in what way? In tax-wise, right? So he's saying, is it better for some kind of offshore entity? Okay? Or is it even better if I create 100% owned a Korean subsidiary, okay? 100% 자회사, and then invest through that company. That is what is called onshore, okay? Onshore or offshore, okay? What a strange question. Okay? What a strange question to ask. Anyway. Okay, that's the question. Are there any special post-incorporation reporting approval requirement? Post-incorporation, meaning after you set up a corporation, right? And then you're asking the same thing. For instance, are there any advantages if foreign investor sets up a Korean subsidiary? Korean subsidiary here, it means obviously 100% owned, okay? Subsidiary. Definition of a subsidiary is the what? 50% or more, right? Is subsidiary. Anyway. Then use this Korean subsidiary to invest in the JV. That was the question before. I was, okay, forget it. Are there any special post-incorporation? For instance, does the JV or foreign investor need to obtain any special approval in the event of capital increase? Capital increase in Korea means what? 증자. Okay. 증자할 때, is there any new kind of a approval? Capital reduction? Meaning? 감자, right? Change of shareholding ratio. If the shareholding ratio changes through transfers, right? Transfer of the JV shares of this joint venture company share to a third party. Borrowing by the JV from the shareholders. What if these guys are getting a loan from this company? Okay? Or from domestic or offshore bank, or downstream equity and debt investment by the JV within Korea or overseas. Downstream means, okay, further down here, you are making a equity investment means what? What's the equity and debt investment? Okay? If this is the JV, and how does JV make equity? What's the equity investment? What's the debt investment? Equity means receiving ownership. Okay? Investing in the ownership. You understand what I'm talking about? If it's a stock corporation, okay, then buying shares would be an equity investment. 그죠? Right? Right? If it's a limited liability company like 유한 회사, instead of using, they don't have the share, they have this membership interest called units, right? So acquiring that certain percentage of the membership interest would be equity investment, okay? You are acquiring the ownership, right? That investment would be lending money, right? You are not acquiring, but you are creating a situation that you have right of claim. Okay, whatever interest that may be, plus the interest. Okay, so that's the debt, downstream equity, and debt investment by the JV in Korea or overseas. Wow, what a variety of different questions. But I think they are considering many other possible situations, and they want to get a preliminary kind of an answer. Are there any foreign exchange restrictions for foreign investors to remit the foreign currency into Korea? That's a foreign exchange question. You know, I have to remit foreign currency, okay? Obviously, and I have to make the change into Korean won. 그죠? Does foreign investor or the JV need to obtain any special approval for such remittance and conversion of Korean won of the foreign currency? I guess that question would be typical. With respect to dividend payable to the foreign investor, here comes the dividend part, right? Proceeds for the sale of shares. If I sell my shares, okay? In other words, you know, I'm taking my investment out. I'm liquidating my investment, okay? The repayment of the principal and interest of the shareholder loan, any service fee if they enter into a contract with the JV, franchise fee, royalties under the license, charged on the JV by the foreign investor, etc. Are there any foreign exchange restrictions for the remittance of the above fund out of Korea? Does foreign investor or the JV need to obtain any special approval for repatriation of such fund? You get your money back, okay? If so, are there structures commonly used by foreign investors to get around such restrictions? For example, holding local shares through an offshore or whatever. Okay, too complicated. Anyway, so what this guy is generally trying to say is obviously interested in when they are making investment, you know, what's the procedure? Can they take the money out? Is there kind of approval? How long does it take? You know, I want to make an investment, possibly in cash, or can I make investment also in kind? All sorts of questions, general questions these may be. Where would I get some kind of help out there? All right? So let's try to find something out from Google. What do I need to do? What do I need to type? Okay. What shall I do? Any idea? Okay. What would be something like, okay, foreign investment. All right, foreign investment. They want to know about foreign investment procedures. All right. So what do you want to write? Let's say, okay, foreign. Okay. Oops. Foreign and then investment. Then already have foreign investment in Korea right there sticking out for you. Okay. Do I need, okay, I'm just kind of curious. What is this? And so you click this. And then you have foreign direct investment. And you got Invest Korea, foreign direct investment, Invest Korea. And you see this Invest Korea a lot, right? Right? Foreign investment promotion and regulation, that's Invest Korea. Invest in Korea, KOTRA, you know. Why invest in Korea? Foreign investment in South Korea. Just out of curiosity, let's click this. Foreign investment in South Korea. So you click that. And say at home page, there's a corporate law, there's a banking and security, foreign direct investment, intellectual property, labor law, litigation, tax, local news, right? So by looking at those, you kind of sense, okay, the corporate law, okay, banking securities, foreign direct investment. Hey, can I maybe find some answers through this? If you look at these topics, maybe I could. Right? So you begin to read this topic of foreign investment. Okay, brief introduction of FIPA, Foreign Investment Promotion Act. Okay? And he says the foreign investors will have access to invest in virtually all types of business in Korea. So you get the general sense that, okay, they are asking, the first question is, are there any restriction for foreign investment? It seems like the general answer may be, okay, that virtually, so most of the types of business are open to foreign investment, okay? Now, I'm not asking you to just trust this out of blank. You need to compare those answers and get this kind of same, you know, you can kind of figure out which one is authoritative, and then kind of figuring answers, you know, comparing the answers, you get the similar things. Now, once you get the general idea, probably you can also check your own law, okay, because you are Korean attorney and try to, you know, do something. Potential foreign investors only have to notify the relevant government authorities rather than seek consent. Okay, meaning that you just simplify the report instead of getting approval process. Out of a total classified 1148 industrial sectors, only 31 sectors remain closed. They give you some definite numbers. Okay, 13 permanently, 18 partially. Okay, anyway. A direct foreign investment under Foreign Investment Promotion Act means a foreign investor's acquisition of at least 10%, etc., etc. Okay? And then you describe a report on foreign investment with a foreign exchange bank, incorporation and registration with the court registry office, and registration with the tax office. And then you go under and you look for, what else do they have? Frequent questions about the establishing and operating a branch, tax incentives, scope of activities could be taken by a liaison office, etc., etc. Okay? Then they have a foreign exchange controls and securities regulation. Okay, this would be relevant because they ask about some foreign exchange. Then foreign investment in South Korea. Okay, I guess this is it. All right. Okay, so you generally flip through. Okay, understand. You close it. Maybe that's the document that you want to take a look at, get the preliminary idea of what they have to say. And then you curiously notice Invest Korea a lot. All right. So you kind of click Invest Korea to see what that means. Is this a government agency? Is it a what kind of thing is this? All right, Invest Korea. So you try to look at before and say you notice here is the KOTRA, okay? Korea Trade Incentive Promotion Agency. All right. So anyway, this would be relevant because you notice the KOTRA. So you click KOTRA as the agency about foreign investment. Anyway, So you look at this Invest Korea and then try to find out some of the resources. Why Korea? And then you check industries, okay. Invest Korea, okay. You have auto parts, display, semiconductor. What do they want? Medical, bio, finance, etc. Where to invest, doing business. Then it's a foreign direct investment system, establishment of a corporation, okay? So for incentives would be tax incentives, other things. There's a taxation part, okay? There are many kind of topics that would be relevant about foreign investment. Then, okay, you look through, and these are brief examples, but you want to go to the resources and say what they have. And obviously, there's a place called library. So I want to know whether there is any kind of publications that I can use. So there's a library, and the left side there is a publications, right? You click publications, and here it goes. Foreign investment, ombudsman annual report, etc., etc. Annual, okay? And then you click to see what they have. And then there's a promising investment opportunities on every segment, not every segment, but major segment, information and communication technology. So if you download one of these, if somebody is interested in information and communication technology, I think this would have a good analysis on overview, okay? Good overview of every aspect of those kind of things. But we are keep on looking at, because we are not interested in particular kind of, it's the product that they're interested in. It's a kind of health product, we know, but you don't see biopharmaceutical, maybe, but we are not really pharmaceutical stuff. And then Q&A on foreign direct investment, living in Korea, annual report. You just click on things of that sort. Then there's a labor law guide for foreign investor, every type of things, doing business in Korea, guide to business establishment in Korea. That's something important. It's published in January 2013. So I decided to download this one. And you download it in, let's say, where should I download? 바탕화면, okay? So you just, I already downloaded it. So you click it open. Okay. So what do they have? KOTRA. Wow. It's a government agency. Okay. This is the government agency's publication. 2013, very recent. You look at the contents to see what they are describing. Think about it. Type of business entities established by foreign nationals. Okay? What kind of, and there was a question about entities, right? There's a local corporation. There's a private business. That would be a private business opened by individuals, right? 개인사업, right? If it's a corporation, there's a branch, 지사. Then there's a liaison office, 연락사무소. Okay? These are the type of entities that you could establish in Korea. Now, obviously, for joint venture, branch is just a part of the principle, okay, acting in Korea. So you would be the one and the same with your principle. So obviously, branch, we are not interested. Liaison office, this is not it. It would be a sort of a company, local company, okay? Not a private business. So they're going to describe this, then procedure for establishment of a local corporation. There's a flow chart, foreign investment notification, remittance of foreign investment capital. There's a registration of that establishment, incorporation registration. 그 다음에 business registration. That's called 사업자 등록, right? And this is right after that. After the company is established, okay? This is incorporation registration means 설립 등기, right? And then you do with 사업자 등록, right? and then you transfer a paid-in capital. This is when I remit my equity investment into the company. How do you do it? Foreign investment. Then, once I make that investment, that company becomes a foreign invested company, right? If I make 50% more than 10%, becomes a foreign investment company. So you register that thing. So they explain everything here, okay, in very good order. Then they give you more detail, procedure, types of incorporation. What kind of company are you going to establish? Okay, procedure. What's the procedure, and so on and so on. So incorporation notification and vision. Okay. Then they have branch and other stuff too. Then they have samples of form required for incorporation. These are the exact same thing that that they will do it. So this actually, if you happen to kind of skim through and look for it, it's a great summary of general stuff about the foreign investment. All right, so it's all in here. All right. The information is all out there, and if you happen to kind of review through, then you would get the general ideas. All you want at this stage is a general. Your conclusion might be different. But this is not your job to find an answer, but just to give you a general idea where to get it. Okay, so it's already out there, very well clarified. Okay, so for the benefit of the foreign investors, it's all out there. If I'm a smart foreign investor, go through this and have a background of these and ask the relevant questions. Even if you hire a question, you already have a lot of background and can ask the relevant question. You could really save money, right? You don't want to bog down into the little video of the different details and ask the lawyers to incur many hours to do the same thing, the information, to provide the information which are already out there, right? And you could really trim down into an important question or details of an important question and ask that question, right? If you're a foreign investor already knowing this, I think would be a great help, right? So what I am saying is that there are these types of information out there. If it's a government, it's a foreign investment, is made to this government quota or any foreign exchange bank, meaning that any bank established under Korea is a foreign exchange bank. Any branch of a foreign bank like Citibank, Bank of America, many branch here are the foreign exchange banks, right? So you can file a report to any of those banks, Korea Exchange Bank, Uri Bank, any of those things. But all the procedures about establishing how to take the money out, how to make a report, what report is required, are all out there at this site. Okay, so Invest Korea is within the quota. There is specialized sector that deals with this. That's Invest Korea. So you go to the Invest Korea and you look through various of other questions. Okay, you look through the resources. You look through the library. I don't know why this is, every time you click something, this is happening. But you go to publications, and there are these type of things. There's a labor law guide for the foreign investor. There are so many questions about basic labor law that people are asking. But if you are taking a look at that guide, that provides a very comprehensive, okay? That one is close to about 80 pages, easy to read. But if you read through, that gives you a relevant update about the labor law that you'd otherwise not get it. How do you get the summary of Korean law that are relevant to foreigners, okay? Interested in the foreigners, right? Where do you get it? Here it is, all right? Then there are, other stuff that might be of interest, okay? Anyway, I think There's a chemical, ICT industry, medical and bio. Maybe they have a summary of a industry that you would be interested in. They would provide a chunks of good information. Why? Because this is made by the government in order to attract foreign investment, right? They want to explain, make things easier, to simplify things, and so on and so on. Very good document that are available out there already. But not many people know it. And you should be aware of it. Okay, enough. Thank you very much. We've done a lot. My throat begins to hurt. We're going to take a break. Let's see what time it is. It's 8:26. Let's have a 10-minute break. And then we will probably continue for another 30 minutes. That's it for today. All right? Thank you very much. 힘들지? 엄청 졸리지? 피자 먹고. 거기다 또 오늘 시험까지 보고, 야, 진짜.
예전에는 법제처에서 나왔던 그 영한 한영 법률 용어 사전 PDF 파일이 있었는데 제가 그걸 삭제는지 없어져서 다시 찾아보려니까
그거 나한테 있어. 내가 보내줘?
네, 혹시 사용을 추천?
아니, PDF 파일이 있을 거야, 나한테.
그거 말고 또 따로 쓰시는 게 추천해 주시면
아니, 별로 없어. 별로 없는데, 그것도 뭐 이렇게 뭐 완전히 그 완벽한 게 아니래서. I sometimes, 하는데 요새는 뭐 네이버로 봐도 많고, 근데 뭐, 그것도 뭐 그냥 그렇긴 한데 뭐 없는 것보다는 훨씬 낫지, 그지? Guys, go and take a break, get some fresh air, okay?
근데 이런 퀘스천 받으실 때쯤이면 그 컴퍼니들이 벌써 조인벤처를 사인을 한 건가요?
전혀. 아직까지 아주 프리리미너리한 디스커션 스테이지에서 이제 계약서를 들어가고 싶을 때, 계약서를 이제 들어가기 전에 좀 이런 걸 알고 싶다고 그쪽 인하우스 카운슬이 보내온 이게 리스트야. 근데 리스트를 회사한테 보내왔는데 회사가 이걸 보니 이게 답변을 할 수가 없잖아. 회사에 인하우스가 있긴 한데 주니어고, 그러니까 이제 이거를 갖다가 우리한테 보내와서 우리 보고 좀 대신 앤서를 해주되, 이걸 로펌에서 한 거로 하면 좀 이상하니까. 왜냐하면 리걸 서비스를 왜 얘네가 줘야 돼? 그렇잖아. 그러니까 좀 자기네가 한 것처럼 해가지고 그렇게 로펌 앤서처럼 하지 말고 좀 해서 뭔가 걔네들한테 그래도 베이직한 거를 좀 줄 수 있게끔 해달라는 미션을 받고. 이거는 뭐 녹음 안 하는 거예요. 예. 그렇게 갖고 받은 거였어.
근데 그래도 그렇게 열심히 리소스를 투자해가면서 교수님 여행 가서 계신 동안
근데 나는 이제 이런 거지. 난 서비스니까. 이건 서비스잖아, 자기. 이게 서비스는 뭐냐면 How can I be a better? 그러니까 고객을 만족시키는 거야. 그러니까 예를 들어가지고. 근데 고객 만족이 이제 여러 가지 경쟁이 있으니까. 경쟁이 뭐 다들 한번 이런 거 주면 한 달 후에 준다 이런 거면 나는 20일 후에만 줘도 나는 막 그냥 박수를 받겠지만, 그 유태인들이 옛날에 미국에 이민 가가지고 그렇게 그 어떻게 보면 이제 앵글로 섹슨계의 그 놀딕이라고 하죠. 놀딕 그런 데서 굉장히 이렇게 뭐 그렇잖아요. 새로운 사람들이니까. 그러니까 뭐 그렇게 봤는데 웃기는 건 뭐냐면 얘네들이 가서 이미그레이션에서 다 한 일이 무슨 리코 스토어도 많이 하고 바느질 공장. It's not for you to know the answers to everything, but sort of the ability to find something, and get some kind of ideas, so that you can approach these questions much more intelligently. Are there any restrictions for foreign investment in proposed business activities? So here, you know nothing, okay? So I'm just gonna, here, I never looked into it, but I answered it. We understand there is no foreign investment restriction on this sector. I just answered it like that because I knew, okay? I already knew the answer. But if you don't know, you can say, commonsensically, why are these guys trying to do business, in Korea? Why is this my client is doing a business if they think that this is a restricted, 그지? That would be crazy. Okay, they are experienced corporate. This is not like nobody who is just doing business, individual. This is a corporation. Okay, so you'd know, but just out of curiosity. Okay, so you're gonna say, okay, foreign investment restricted industries. Okay, something like that. So restricted sectors, foreign investment, China. You already have those kind of things. So restricted, you want to say restricted sectors in Korea. Foreign investment restrict sectors. 그렇게 하면 돼. Okay? Foreign investment restricted sectors in Korea. So let's just click. What else do they have? Okay, foreigners are restricted from foreign investment in the following cases. This is what? Invest Seoul. Let me just take a look at it. 어디 보자. This is Invest Seoul. Okay, is this something to do with Seoul? Well, anyway. Liberalizations. They go through this liberalization, protection of foreign investment, how we protect, guarantee of remittance, 그지? If you kind of invest in money, we guarantee that you can take your money back plus profits that you made. Exceptions, whatever, well, national treatment, whatever, okay? And then here it goes, restricted category of business, and as of March 8, 2010, okay? This is a little bit outdated, but it'll give you the general idea, knowing that not every 6 months the law changes in these areas, okay? So growing cereal crops, okay, this is about those maybe 쌀농사, right? Okay, I can understand maybe, okay, the reason why. Farming of beef cattle, okay, so, okay, but anyway, okay, inshore fishing, basic inorganic chemicals, smelting, nuclear power, you understand why, okay? More hydroelectric transmission. What about health food? The disposal of radioactive waste, wholesale of meat, okay, some kind of wholesale of meat is protected. Okay, coastal water, publishing, and publishing magazine, this kind of permitted where the foreign investment ratio is less than 50%, okay? Radio broadcasting, see a lot of broadcasting prohibited, radio broadcasting, over-the-air broadcasting, okay? Things of that, cable networks, okay? Other news agents, it's about it, okay? Okay, satellite communication, these areas, all right? So this is not totally updated. You could find something else, but you know, just by clicking this simple step, you already got answers, all right? Studying a foreign investment climate, foreign direct investment restriction in OECD. Anyway, so going through this exercise, you will be able to find answers to it. So that's what I'm saying. Are there any incentives? Yeah, you knew. I know by my experience that there are some incentives like preferential tax treatment, etc. But generally not applicable for this type of foreign investment. It's only for some high tech. Okay, if you want to introduce some high technology that Korea otherwise did not have, obviously the government has an incentive. Okay, because it is about you're licensing those high tech. Korea is getting those high tech, you know, exposed to those high technology and so on. So they're willing to give you some kind of tax break, you know, some kind of subsidy, etc., etc. But usually, in most of the cases, it's not available. If you invest in foreign economic zone or you know some kind of a zone, you know, in the certain area, right? They also give you some subsidies and so on. but it's not easy. So I know so I knew already that, these are not, but you want to write an answer. Okay, you already know the answer, but you cannot just say, okay, so you have exactly what areas, I have this vague idea of where, but I want to get, so I looked through one of those documents, okay, and then got the answer because they describe it. In one of those Invest Korea documents, they describe those incentives. We looked at that before, and they got these tax incentives. So you wrote down something so that your answer is in line with those things. You specify certain areas, and you conclude by it's not available in our case. It's only in these specific cases, it's usually not available. That answer was sufficient. All right? Any special approval, license, registration required for foreign investment in the JV? Well, only thing that is required is a foreign investment report. It's FX report, meaning that the money is coming in, right, in foreign currency, exchanged, okay, and then made as a paid-in capital, right? So if you are creating a company with a capital, let's say, of 10 billion Korean won, okay? So 5 billion is coming from you, and 5 billion is coming from me. Then it has to be in Korean won, right? Because the Korean company and paid-in capital is in Korean won. 그렇잖아, right? So where do I get this 50억 from? Okay? Well, in order to send 50억, I have to send you approximately some US dollar amount, knowing that this US dollar amount will be exchanged into Korean won, right? So exact amount might be difficult unless you fix the exchange rate. So generally, you send a little bit over at the current exchange rate. You send a little bit afterwards. Otherwise, it's procedurally very difficult because in order to send, there has to be a kind of a if you send less than that, if it doesn't convert, then you have to start the process over again and so on and so on. So you want to send enough money. You have to, so afterwards, if you exchange into 50 billion won, if let's say something is left over, $1,058 is left over after successfully paying the banking fees and exchange rate. Yeah, if it's 50 billion won, it's going to be more. It's going to be, let's say, 9,058 is left over. Then it's just sent back, to the sender. If it's a small amount, you can also gift it to the company. But why? There's no incentive. It's not 100% subsidiary. So you don't gift it, you just send it back. All right? So usually this report is critical. It's easy, same day thing. You go to the foreign exchange, you make the file, you give the basic information about the company and what you intend to do and so on and so on. It just clears. Okay? It is important because later on when you sell the shares, somehow liquidate your investment and take the money out plus whatever profit that you have. If this company is doing well, the shares will acquire value, right? You can sell that to your partner, right, for a lot of money later on, and you want to take the money out. You want to exchange it. Korea needs to have the foreign currencies maintained. And therefore, if you do not have those evidences of filing, you cannot take the money out. You can sell it, but you have to keep the money here. You cannot take it out. It's a big problem, right? Okay. So for the creation of the company, you need nothing else other than the foreign investment report. You always have to check for antitrust, right? The filings, right? If that requires filing and clearance, right, then you cannot acquire shares. You can sign an agreement, you have to file, and you have to wait for 30 days for it to clear. Okay? will it make any... Okay, so regarding tax, I just wrote like this. We understand that generally tax incentives are given when the foreign investment is accompanied by high technology recognized by the relevant government agency as vital to the strengthening of international competitiveness or domestic industries. Where do you think I got this, right? I wanted to get this language somewhere, right? So we also understand that certain tax incentives are given for foreign investment satisfying certain threshold amount. In such if such investment are made into certain designated foreign investment zones, free economic zones, enterprise city development zone, etc., which to our understanding would not be applicable to the contemplated joint venture or its business. So that's the kind of thing that I wrote for them. Okay. 1.4, will it make any difference if foreign investor chooses an onshore or offshore? So I said, you know, if you choose an onshore company to invest, this investment right here, this is not a foreign investment. Right? This is an investment of a Korean company by another Korean entity. Right? However, you trying to establish this company and remitting capital overseas would be a foreign investment, right? And then I said, you know, we are not in position to give any comment on whether such investment through an onshore would provide any advantage. I mean, how can I, your partner, can give you advice which is better for you? You have to hire your own attorney and make your own decisions. But this is not the kind of question that you ask your partner, you know, which is better? Give me a tax advice. No, we cannot give you no tax advice. No way. Get it from your own lawyer. Get it from your own tax attorney. I said that, okay? Because this is going out from the client, right? So we are not in position. However, we understand that many foreign companies are making direct foreign investment without such intermediaries. I just wrote down one, you know, you know. Anyway, okay. Then any special post-incorporation stuff. Yeah, the post incorporation, obviously you'd need to, the company needs to, the JV needs to file a foreign investment registration filing. 그지? And every time you make capital increase, you have to go through, again, this FX report of how much you are bringing in and how much shares you are obtaining, right? So that later on, you have the total report of how much shares you have. So that it evidences when you sell the shares or get the proceeds, then you can make another report so that you can take your money out, okay? This is the United States don't have those FX requirements. Why? Because it prints dollars. You don't need to control your dollars. You can print more money. However, we need to keep the dollars, basically yen and dollars and stuff like that. We need to keep it. And we need to keep it under certain reserves, right? Otherwise, we could have those crises again. So that's why we have those FX reporting system. All right. So basically, to give you a short overview, investing into Korea is fairly simple. You have to file one foreign investment report, and then you get your money in. You invest. You acquire shares, and if you acquire more than 10% or more, then it becomes a foreign invested company. The company can be registered. Every time those foreign ownership changes, you have to make a filing, but it's a very simple filing. You just have to make a page basically describing you, entity, and amount that you are acquiring, the shares, and so on and so on. Yeah. Very basic stuff. All right. Now, moving into next topic about corporate governance. But before you describe corporate governance, I just want to kind of distinguish. This is very important. So I just want to end today's lecture with this. You can create joint venture by two things, as I said. You can create joint venture by establishing a new company, new fresh entity. Okay, this is a Korea. This is foreign. You can decide to create a joint venture company, JV, right here. Okay? Or if it's a Korean entity right here, the foreign investor can acquire, okay? Acquire either new shares or existing shares, which would make it to own 50%. Okay? This Korean company right here is owned by whatever shareholder. Okay? Getting existing shares meaning that you buy from him 50%. Thereby, you end up owning 50-50, right? Right? But in that sense, you buying it from this shareholder, the money goes to him into his pocket, right? If this company needs money, right? Then you get new shares. This company issue new shares, and you get this new share. If he had 10,000 shares altogether, own 100%, you issue another 10,000. The total issued share would be 2,000, right? This guy will end up owning 10, right? So either by creating a new company or using an existing company, you can create joint venture. The two types, it depends on the situation, except if you get new shares, the agreement that you need is so-called share subscription agreement, because you are getting a new one. Okay, it's a 신주 인수 계약, right? And this subscription agreement is entered into by issuer. Issuer is this company right here. Right? I'm issuing new shares, right? And this foreign investor as the buyer. Okay? Issuer is the seller, right? I issue new shares to you and I buy. If you get all share from the shareholder, right? So if he has 1,000, I'm going to give you 500 shares. Okay? Then it's called share purchase agreement, usually, to distinguish it from the new shares, SSA. And this is between the seller, which is the shareholder, and the buyer, okay, which is the foreign investor. All right, so SSA and SPA. But think about how this is different from the JB. Because whether you enter into an SSA or SPA, you will then, after you become a 50% owner of this company, you will usually enter into what is called shareholders agreement. 주주간 계약. Do you understand? Now you and I own 50-50. Let's talk about how to operate and manage this company, right? So that's a shareholders agreement. So there usually is a two sets of agreement. Okay, either SPA, SSA, depending upon whether you are getting new shares or whether you are getting old shares. And then afterwards, you're going to talk about this governance stuff. How this is different from this. Okay? Because here you just have this document called JVA, Joint Venture Agreement, where you have basically two steps. Two-step is basically this SHA part, which you set out how to operate this company, same stuff, how to have the board, who's going to, nominate the representative director, who's going to have this and that, how to operate this company, plus how you are going to invest into this company by 50-50%, how much money that you are going, either in cash or in kind, you set up those kind of things in just one agreement. Establishment of a new company, it's a JVA, all right? But this one is usually a two separate agreement. But as I described before, what is the fundamental difference between the two? When you are buying an existing company's ownership, either through a new shares or through old shares, from the shareholder, there is a fundamental issue of valuation. You have to value the company, right? In order to value the company, you have to analyze what they have, their assets. In other words, you need to take this step of due diligence, which is called 실사, right? You have to go through the steps of due diligence, legal, financial, business, And sometimes legal, financial, business, and sometimes, you go into the separate part where, you do other like specialized areas, but, let's forget it. But anyway, just a big part, legal, financial, and business. Usually business people can do it. However, the financial usually taken care of by the accounting firms, like, those big four. Legal, okay? So you have to value, and you have to analyze the risk of this company, right? So in order to value, you have to do due diligence, DD, okay? Where it takes about 1 month or more to kind of ask for the bunch of documents, okay? All relevant contracts, all aspects of legal due diligence includes, you ask for corporate minutes, and you do you do labor issues, you do analyze the contract, you analyze insurance, you analyze, whether you have proper insurances, what insurance is required by law, and so on and so on. And then there is an environment, and more, right? So you have general corporate, et cetera, and you analyze antitrust, all kinds of things, okay? So it's going to involve many lawyers who draft up the legal due diligence paper, usually about more than 100 pages, depending on the situation. And you have to review those. There's a financial analysis done by the financial analyst, usually to break down the financial statement by years, and they analyze it, et cetera. And there's a business kind of valuation usually done by certain other parties, like investment bankers. It can be done by, financial, investors and so on. But anyway, so you have to go through those steps, right? Due diligence, and finally you derive some kind of amount. And you negotiate, and once you agree upon the amount, right? That agreed upon amount is under the assumption that everything that has been disclosed to us, right? There are no other major things not undisclosed that we do not know about, because if we knew about that, it would reflect it into calculation of the price, right? So in order to protect, after due diligence, you agree on the kind of amount, this either share subscription or share purchase agreement will have, okay, a section called representations and warranties. 진술과 뭐? 보장. There's a set of long section in the middle of the agreement called representation and warranties. Basically giving representations and warranty in each of the major, like financial statement, reps and warranty would say all the financial statement that I disclosed would be fair, and then they were made in accordance with the GAAP or KIFS or those rules. It was done properly. There is no, it's all done according to the rules and properly, according to proper accounting practices, and so on and so on. It gives you on the asset section, on the labor section, basically no liabilities other than disclosed. Okay? Those are required. Think about it. So you have this reps and warranty, long reps and warranty over which that we have most comment and lawyers fight about. Okay? And then after that, if you breach the reps and warranty, then you have to think about how long such reps and warranties should survive. Are we like giving you these reps and warranties forever? Or does it close after closing, after you acquire share? How long does, do they need to survive, right? So your indemnification upon a breach, okay, is determined about this. There's a long indemnification section. How to deal with when these reps and warranties are breached. Okay? Not only that, all right, about the time this was entered, if this was entered into this point in time called A, there is certain gap when it closes, B. Between this contract signing and contract closing, there are those things that are required. For example, if there's any notification, business combination notification needs to be filed into Korea or into different jurisdiction, that needs to be cleared. Like China, it takes a mighty long time, usually up to 6 months, So it's a major headache. If it's somehow facilitated, maybe, but still it requires much more time. So in those periods, in between those periods, I'm assuming that I'm going to be a 50% owner. And we agreed from this time, this is 50-50, and therefore what? We under joint control, right? But what about in this period? A is still, this former shareholder still owns this 100%, right? Right? Still 100% owner. At this moment, it becomes 50-50. So how should, during those periods, the company should be managed? Okay? This is the closing, right? This is the signing. Reps and warranties are given with respect to these 2 points. Signing on the date hereof, plus on the date of closing. Reps and warranties are true. Not only here, but here. Because here I pay the price. You understand? Based on these reps and warranties that there is, your company is such and such, based on that representation, I agreed to pay the price at this point, right? So there should not be any kind of changes, any kind of things happening in between that becomes a breach of an reps and warranty, meaning that we should be reflected into the pricing. You understand? Right? So there is a big covenant section that deals with what to do during this period. Right? So usually, you are required to conduct the business only in ordinary course of business and do nothing strange, nothing illegal. Then you have to report any kind of major stuff, because from here on, we will agree, okay, on the shareholders agreement, all these major things need board approval. And we are going to have 50-50 nomination upon the board. So everything is reported to us, and everything needs to be done in order to take those actions, okay, requires our approval of the board, including our directors that nominated by us. But what about in between? Obviously, you are not an owner, so you cannot give an approval. You cannot appoint your directors yet. Here, if there is a 4 directors, 2 of them will be replaced with the directors that are appointed by us, right? So at least then there are a bunch of reporting requirements on if these are major items, that would require the board approval upon this stage. Then give us a consent, right? You have to report to us. You have to get an approval, right? And there's a various type of a reporting requirement. You have to all set these things up just because you are taking an existing company. All right? So you have a long reps and warranty, the long indemnification of how to deal with when you breach, and the long covenant section, right? Which resembles some of these ideas. When you take all these matters, before you're taking it, you should not take it, but if you want to take it, you have to get our consent. Because now we have vested interest, because we have signed it, meaning that upon this stage, we are obligated to close. And this becomes 50-50 per company. You understand? So you go through all these, and these are very kind of a major document. Other things are just writing down, okay, you are going to buy how many shares and at what price. But these are the major part of this agreement right here. Since SSAs enter into issuer and buyer, this issuer is just what? He's the controlling shareholder, right? So these reps and warranties are usually jointly and severally, okay, made by the controlling shareholder. Because what if this company does not, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's the typical structure. So this is a lot more difficult. You compare with that, you only deal with the shareholder agreement section. You don't need none of those reps and warranties, indemnification, and covenants. Because you create a new company without any liability. No valuation is needed. Only the, capital contribution. If that capital contribution is made in kind, then you need to value it. But you go through the system. Usually it's made by cash, 50-50, right? Very simple. You understand? All right? So we are going to do this one because this one means reps and warranties, indemnification, covenant. It's a lot more complicated, but you know where this thing comes from. At least you know. Then later on, when you need a little bit more in-depth about reps and warranties, there are, again, resources available waiting for you. Annotated reps and warranties, annotated SPA, issued by American Bar Association. Really a very authoritative